preparation, the greater the blessing, which falls into line with if you fail to plan, you plan to fail. And so anything that's worth going through or achieving, you're going to have to, go through a process. There is going to be preparation that come into play. And through preparation, obviously, there is the elimination process. And that elimination process may cause you to step away from people that you love, step away from people that you like, and move in a direction that is favorable to what your dreams and aspirations are. So going forward, the greater the preparation, the greater the blessing would be the life note of today.
All right, wonderful, and that was excellent. And that's always the case. I preach it all the time. You preach it all the time. Every time I have my classes, multiple times a month, I always talk about preparation and planning for everything that you are getting into, and even plan for the unplanned. Just in case you're not planning, just the unexpected, because sometimes gifts come to you unexpectedly. So
that's correct.
We're talking about the transition. Both of us have 2 daughters apiece. Before we even get into talking about our daughters, talking about everyone's daughters and sons that are listening, let's talk about us for a moment, Leroy. So, talking about the transition from childhood to adulthood. If you're blessed enough, you've experienced this. And like Leroy just stated earlier, some people don't even have the opportunity to go from childhood to adulthood because they are no longer with us. He was talking about his best friend, and I mentioned my beautiful cousin earlier. So let's talk about your transition to adulthood. First, I want to ask you, Leroy, when you were a child, could you even imagine being an adult? And then the second part of that is, what did you imagine adulthood would be like, and what were your models?
Well, that's indeed a good question. I did imagine myself being an adult, so much so that I would say whenever I had to do something that I didn't want to do or was made to do, I often would say, I'll be glad when I grow up. I'm going to move out. and sure enough, the time came where, my grandfather's comments were to me, one day you're going to have to work, and 2, when you get ready to leave your keys on the table. So what that meant was, that, the time had come, or was coming, that, I was going to have to stand up and be a man about certain things. Mm-hmm. And if I could rewind that time back, I would not be saying at this point, I'd be glad when I grow up so I can move out. Because I figure it to be that, some of your best moments is when someone else has to deal with you, correct you, direct you, and all of those kinds of things. Those are some of your best moments. You don't have to, worry about nothing because somebody else is worrying about it for you. Mm. So I tell young people even today, be a child for as long as you can be a child, because when the time comes, and the time will come, you're going to have to face the music like everybody else, mm-hmm. and there will be no different.
Mm-hmm. Absolutely.
There will be no different.
My oldest daughter is 24, and she said people come in her job telling her that all the time still. They're like, shit.
I mean, it's one of those things where, for, the parents and grandparents out there with, children, teenage children or children as a whole, keep their eyes closed for as long as they can stay closed. Because once they open, that's the end of it right there.
Right. I like what you said. Yeah, I like what you said, though. You said they don't have to worry about anything because someone else is worrying about it for them.
That's right. They don't have to worry about absolutely nothing.
I never thought about
that. One time, my grandson said to me, he needs to take a break. And then when I didn't respond to him because I was in the midst of typing, he said unto me, why are you not saying nothing? I said, because I don't know what you need to take a break for. All you have to do is 3 things. Go to school, follow instructions, play. At 7 years of age, what are you going to do?
Well, eat and go to sleep.
He has nothing to worry about, not a thing.
Isn't that a beautiful thing?
Say again?
say, isn't it a beautiful thing?
Yeah. When nobody has to worry about anything, your kids grow up and they're not worried about who paid the mortgage or rent or gas, electric last month. All they know is that they came in the house and it was on.
And it was cold, or either it was hot or cold.
That's right. They ain't concerned about that. I think I may have mentioned one time, and it threw me for a loop for a few years. I had to catch up with my youngest daughter when she told me, I didn't ask for this. You gave it to me. She told me that, and that thing stayed with me. And worst thing somebody could do is tell you something like that when you shredding the corn and while they sit home and they don't have to worry about anything.
Right.
But she was ultimately right.
Right. And I think as
but I
children,
had to grow into that one.
Yeah. But I think as children, they shouldn't have to worry about anything. But they should see what, as age appropriately, they should start to see what's going on and realize how blessed they are. And that's, we were children at one time too. At least I know I was. Maybe Leroy, you might not have been. Were you a child at some point?
I would like to believe so. With the birthday coming up in 2 more weeks in my 40s, I would like to believe I was one at some point. And that's a good way to put that, at some point.
Right.
Right. But as a that maturation process, and if the truth be told, even as an adult, the maturation process don't stop.
Right.
Because you're always evolving. You're always, stretching yourself. And you're always looking for, that next best thing. Right.
Because my mother always said, she was like, Kendall, you came out an adult. Like, you came out responsible. And we always laugh. And, of course, obviously, I didn't come out as an adult. But I got what she was saying. And that's what you're talking about, the maturation process. Some people mature quicker than others. Some people, you've heard people say, oh,
I so agree with you.
You're an old soul. You've been here before type thing.
Hey, how about that? I so agree with that. You've been here before, and at some point, you recognize that, it's time to, as they say, when I was a child, I spoke as a child, but when I became a man or a woman, now it's time to do man-woman type things. And so, if my conversation is not special, I ain't saying nothing at all.
Right.
At some point, it gets like that.
Absolutely. So when you were a child, let the people know you were born where?
I was born where?
Yeah.
Oh, yeah. Well, I was born in Baltimore, Maryland, East Baltimore, to be exact. Over there where, I guess all things go until you get caught.
So tell,
until you get caught. But I find myself at this point in particular with one of the recent deaths in my old neighborhood of a 97-year-old man getting killed and someone going into his home and robbing him, not only of his possessions, but his key to life. They robbed him of that. Here to this date, to my very knowledge, they have not caught the person who did it, which I have been saying for some period of time now, because of the way it happened, the chances of them finding who did it may be slim to none. And here today, they haven't caught him, but that old man, Mr. Tate, as well as many others, when we were growing up, of course, you had that rapport with families where if they've seen you doing something wrong, they're going to tell it, and not only are they going to tell it, but they're going to correct it at the same time.
Right.
And nowadays, of course, you don't have that accountability factor in the African-American community in particular. And I know that obviously because I'm an African-American, so I don't have to talk about the obvious, but the accountability factors are not there. It seems as if, within various communities in the African-American setting, that, more people are more me, myself, and I ain't got nothing to do with what's going on next door. That kind of thing. And so, it's kind of mind-boggling to me that, nobody's heard nothing, nobody's seen nothing at this very point, in particular when the houses are side by side. I'm talking about a row house. I ain't talking about no single family house. And that because there was forceful entry, somebody seen something, somebody heard something, and somebody knows something. And then not only that, with it being that this particular person or a group of people, whoever did it, to walk around as they are today with no conscience at all. But some people are like that. They have no conscience at all about anything if it ain't pertaining to them. So, but that's the way that it is. But I'm thankful to this day, although we complained about it and everything when we were kids, that those older people were sitting on the porch and they had a watchful eye over us as we transition into adulthood.
So that's exactly what I was wanted to ask you. So that was the vibe growing up as a child in East Baltimore. You had people looking out for you, and you had people helping you transition from a child into a man or a woman. Oftentimes people don't realize the significance in other people playing a role in your upbringing and in your childhood, other than your immediate family, other than people that you know and hold near and dear to your heart. And I think you're absolutely right. These days, it's not a sense of community in some communities. Of course, some communities, it's still like that. But nowadays, people are scared to say something to someone else's child. People are afraid to, first of all, a lot of children don't have respect for another adult. They barely have respect for themselves and for their mothers and grandmothers and aunties and siblings. So I find it sad that a lot of them don't have respect for their neighbors, and a lot of neighbors are scared to say, get out the street, or why are you out here so late, or maybe you should be home, because children nowadays will cuss you out and tell you to mind your business. Absolutely. And I think that makes it difficult when you look at society, and when you look at a lot of the inner city children, a lot of them have to transition into adulthood quicker than they should.
And I so agree with you, and as it relates to transitioning, quicker than they should, I always feel that, and this goes right along with what our life note of the day was, in order for you to become anything great, you're going to have to go through something in order to become it. And, nobody is going to give you anything or make life easy for you just because, the color of your skin, your education, whatever the case may be. Nobody's going to do that. So you have to have a relentless type of approach to life and to the things that you want. Because if you don't have that, you will be looked over. You will be discussed in the long run, yes. But in the immediate, as it relates to impact, you won't have very much of that at all if you ain't determined to do something great with your life. And that greatness, doesn't have anything to do with the parent, the grandparent, the uncle, or the aunt, because in my mind, everybody has a role to take. Everybody has a role to take, and some roles that our children take are not roles that we would want them to take, but they're going to take a road because all of us have had to do that.
Absolutely.
Some of the roads, I've taken some good roads along the way, but all of the roads that I've taken, I know for a fact that my grandparents and my mother and father are not proud that I took them. They're proud that I'm still living after taking them, but they're not necessarily proud that I took them. Right. Because I could have did the different way. In other words.
Right. And a lot of people, when you think about childhood, and I'm sure a lot of adults that are listening right now, they know their childhood, and they know in their childhood they would have probably chose the same choices and decisions because you're a child. So a child thinks like a child. And sometimes a child doesn't see what the future would be like as an adult because they're still in their child's mind, if you will. So when you think about adults and you think about children who are transitioning into adults, no one is perfect. There is no perfect woman and there is no perfect man, which leads us to our break right now. Not a Perfect Man by Christopher Williams. We'll be right back. Life Enhancement Radio.